think the real reason that Kevin's not joining us today is, when he said, so what's the topic? I said, goals, friends or foes? He goes, oh, foes. Yeah, I hate them. Hate goals. And I'm like, and I was like, you're on here because you like goals. Yeah.
Yes.
So that's not the real reason he's not here, but that's just
right.
funny in my head. I like to throw him under the bus when he can't reach me, to grab me and pull me under with him. It's terrible. But like, I'm sure a lot of people have gotten just a slew of emails, from different productivity experts or financial things or relationship goals, parenting stuff. Like this is the time of year to set goals. And I, the frame that I'll use is goals are simply a direction. If you get away from the hype of like, New Year's resolutions and like, this is going to be the best year ever, and that's I've always thought that's fine, but that's not how I roll. It doesn't motivate me, or it's motivated me in the past, but I've had enough failure to be like, that didn't really work. So I'm like, but if we don't have any direction, we're tanked. Like, we're in trouble. So there's got to be some sense of like, where are we going? And if those are goals, cool, call them goals. If they're dreams, call them dreams. If they're, resolutions, call them. I don't care. But where are you going? Where are we headed this year? Okay, we have to have direction. We have to have some sense of where are we going, where, I'll ask this to worship leaders sometimes, like, so let's say it's the 30th and the 31st of December of 2021. What's your team like? How do you envision them being? Is it the same as it is today? Because that's really pathetic. That's really sad. I don't want to be mean, but it's a sad thought to say, oh, I don't know, my team's probably going to be just like they are today. Like, okay, so you've given up hope. Let's work on that, like, do you want to have 2 drummers instead of just 1, or 4 drummers instead of just 2? Or do you want the drummers to be able to play with the click by the end of the year? Or do you want the drummers, and I'm just picking on drummers or do you want the drummers to be more in love with Jesus by the end of the year? Like, what do you want? What do you, and I think that's a great question. If I don't have any goals, the question, what do I want, seems kind of irrelevant. It's like, well, who cares? I don't know, nothing. I'm just gonna keep going. And I just started reading this book called Win the Day. It's a Mark Batterson book. I don't know if you've heard of it. It just came out recently, and there's a worship leader who's reading through, you say 24 books this year is his goal. So, every 2 weeks or twice a month, basically, he's going to read a book. And so that's the first day. And I was like, let me go check it out. Cause I was curious, cause I like Mark Batterson. And so I read the sample and I was like, yeah, let's do this. It resonated with me. And that's why I bought it. And I'm reading the ebook. And he's wired, I think he's wired differently than I am in terms of like, he's got these 100 life goals, and they're like outrageous. And he's done maybe about half of them in his life so far. And it made me think, gosh, is there something wrong with me that I don't feel more like goal oriented or more driven or more excited to have these big aspirations, and to be fair to myself, like, living in Costa Rica was a pretty darn big aspiration, bringing my family here. And so here we are. And we're getting used to that, but here's where I want to kick off the conversation, because I think it's the thing that he says, and I'm only a few chapters in, but the thing that he says in the beginning, it was really helpful to me. It really makes sense, because if your goals are kind of the general direction you're headed, your dailies, your todays are like the turn-by-turn navigation guide, right? So he has this thing. I'm going to pull up his book, and he starts talking about Emmitt Smith, the football player, for the greatest team, the greatest football team in the world. Just kidding. Didn't he play for the Cowboys?
Oh, well, then that's definitely not the greatest football team in the world.
Anyway, Emmitt Smith had this thing where he would give himself 24 hours. It didn't matter if he won the Super Bowl, if he lost the Super Bowl, if he had a great game, if he had things were good or bad, he would celebrate for a day, or he would mourn for a day. And then he'd be like, all right, 24 hours is up. I'm moving on, And so he starts with that idea. And then he takes it into scripture and, talks about like, well, the Lord's Prayer says, give us this day our yearly bread, or no, our weekly bread. No, it's our daily bread. There's this daily sense. And he talks about these, he says, do you remember the expiration date on manna? 1 day. How about the deadline on anger? Sundown. When are God's mercies made new? Every morning. How often are we told to take up our crosses? Daily. And when are we told to rejoice and be glad? Today. And he, way back to the beginning, he says there was evening and there was morning the first day. And he begins to identify these rhythms of dailiness. I've heard, from goal setting people in the past about like, if you don't take that goal that you have and break it down into steps and put those steps into your calendar, they're never going to happen. And so I've started some of that process, now that we're 7 days into the year. And so for me, I'll just tell you what I wrote down 4 things, and the way that I'm talking about them are today. Like, so for example, I'm going to start with rest, because from a Jewish perspective, the day starts the evening before. So tomorrow starts tonight at 6. And I love the idea because it means that it's not like I get my day done and then I collapse into bed. It's no, I'm going to get ready for tomorrow. I'm going to rest. And it sets me up for that. So today I'm going to sleep from 9 to 5. That's my rhythm. I'm working to embrace. I'm going to be in bed by 9 o'clock. I'm going to get up at 5 o'clock because I'm going to capture that early morning time that I love. I'm not a night owl, so I love that early morning thing. So for me today, I'm going to sleep from 9 to 5. And I'm saying today, today I'm going to sweat.
You're going to what?
I'm going to sweat.
Sweat. Okay.
So, and sweating is my way of saying I'm going to do something active, and I want it to be active enough that I actually sweat. Not like I live up here in the mountains. It's like 5,500 feet of elevation, and so it's 55 to 75 year round. It doesn't get hot. If you're sitting in the sun on a sunny day, it gets very hot. Or if you're in our bedroom in the back with no insulation, it gets really hot. But in general, it's hard to sweat here. So you have to work hard to sweat. So that's why I'm saying today I want to sweat. I'm going to do something that gets me to sweat. And that I like that because it gives me enough freedom to say, hey, it's not about, a 35-minute workout. It's not necessarily about this or that. And I've thought through like, okay, if I just think, if I don't plan anything from there, I won't sweat today. But if I have a rhythm of saying, okay, on Mondays, I'm going to go for a bike ride. On Tuesdays, I'm going to go for a walk or a run. On Wednesdays, I'm going to go find a place to hike. On Fridays, I like a lot of variety. So I need to begin to build that in. So that's work that I still need to do. So that's the second one is sweat today. Eat 3 healthy meals today. I don't want to think like my own personality says, well, I ate healthy at lunch. So I'm just or it's breakfast. So I'm going to eat whatever I want to, and then I'm going to eat better. Like, no, I actually want to eat 3 of them that are healthy today. And then the last thing that I've written so far is I want to sing with Jesus today. And I didn't say I want to worship. I specifically, for me, I want to sing, and I don't just want to sing to Jesus. I want to sing with Jesus. I want to have a sense of intimacy where we're together, and so I want to sing with Jesus. That's how I'm saying that. So those are my beginnings of expressing this idea of today, and that he says in the book, it's really difficult to tell yourself, okay, I'm going to do this for the whole year, right? Very hard. Even for this 30 days, I'm going to do this for 30 days. Maybe I'm not that good. A week, maybe. But you know what? Today, it's a lot easier to choose today. And for today, that's what I'm going to do today. So anyway, and I'm not leading a worship team, so I don't have any goals for my worship team right now. But things like that, I think, can be very, very helpful in going somewhere. And if you don't have a direction, again, I don't care if you call them goals. If you don't have a direction, then you're not going to go where you could go. And if you don't have turn-by-turn navigation, you're going to get lost along the way. So that's my goal spiel. I love
it. I agree 100%. Absolutely. I mean, if you don't have a target that you're shooting for, and very few people actually have goals for themselves. And then very few people even that have goals write them down. And that is so important that you put them on paper, because I think a goal is, if it's not written down, if you haven't like actually written it down, mapped out your plan of action, how are you going to get there, then it's just a dream. It's a wish. It's yeah, I hope so. Maybe one day I could or should, or, but when you have a goal, then you've now written it down. You've figured out that action plan of what is it going to take to get to that goal? What is the, and a lot of times, we do have maybe a big goal that we're working towards, but then what are the smaller goals, the step-by-step goals that we're going to do in 6 months and 3 months and 1 month, a week, and like you said, daily. And absolutely taking it that one day at a time, because you can feel overwhelmed if you look at the big picture. But I always say you can only eat an elephant one bite at a time. So you just take that one bite, that next step, that'll take you to the next step and the next step. And then eventually, And the goal is always, goals are tied to your passion and your why. And why, you have to know that. Why do you want that goal? Why, and so it's usually tied to that, figuring that out.
Well, I mean, I think that might be a good place to talk next, like for people probably like you and me who are maybe wired a little bit more to be in those circles of like personal growth and, that world. It's easy to think, well, everybody knows how to do this, but I don't think it's true. Like we've exposed ourselves to a lot of different things, a lot of different teachings, a lot of different ideas. And I remember Simon Sinek when he came out with that Start With Why TED Talk. I don't know if you saw that back by like 10 or more years ago. He has a book now called Start With Why, which is a fantastic concept. But he breaks out what you were saying, like our why is what drives us. And our why is what people come around us to do. So in the sense of like, let's say I'm a worship leader, people will join me and give their all into my leadership and my direction, in as much as they resonate with my why, that they have the same why as I do. And in worship ministry, that we can completely miss it because we think, well, it's obvious we're here to glorify God. But like, I'll also hear things like we're here to give back. God gave me a talent, so I need to give back to him. Okay, that's legitimate, but that's a little bit different than just glorifying God. Or we're here because we're creating a space where people can meet with God. That why is different than just giving an offering to God. They're both valid, but it's different. And if we get more honest with ourselves, what's on the line for me every week? Is it, well, this is my community, or is it this is my platform to, not show off, I wouldn't say that, but to show my stuff. Like there's a lot of different whys that we come to the table with. Maybe it's just I'm trying to escape my home life. Maybe I'm just trying to have some fun with some friends. Again, all valid things, all not this escaping from home. That's probably not a good idea. But if we can identify what our whys are and talk about them, that will do two things. One, the people who are like, yes, that is, yes, it'll get them more involved and more on board and more of their energy pulling the same direction. And if they're like, you know what, I'm really not into that, you know, they'll more and more be like, I don't think this is the right spot for me. And that dead weight that they were on the team because of that thing, no matter what they bring musically, will be lifted. It's like, oh, well, our team got better, you know? So I think being able to identify your why and talk about why is it that we do what we do? What do I really care about? What are the things that are the most important to me? And then specifically from that idea, from that processing, that discerning, what do I hope my team looks like by the end of the year? Because if my why is to pull off fantastic worship services, I'm going to have a very different end goal, you know, in terms of who I recruit, who I'm able to, you know, to pull in to be on the team. If my primary goal is, or one of my big whys is, this is a discipleship making opportunity. I'm getting to lead this team because I'm getting to make disciples of them. So I'm helping them mature and grow, and that's spiritually, relationally, musically, like all those things. I want my team to really grow, and so I'm going to invest in them over this year, and by the end of the year, they're going to be more committed disciples of Jesus, and they're going to be better musicians. You know, those are two really different things, and I just don't think that we don't. It's like you don't know what you don't know, and you don't articulate, man, this is really important for me to say this, for me to talk to my team about this and say, hey guys, this is why we do what we do from my perspective. Is that why you show up every week? You know, here's why I show up, and it doesn't have anything to do with a paycheck. Like at least I don't, I've not met many worship leaders who do it for the money, right? Like we are glad for the money. We appreciate the money. The money allows us to be able to put as much time into it as we can without getting into trouble, because otherwise we probably would put just as much time and get into trouble because the rest of our life would be out of whack. But I think these, you know, this month is a great time to just have some heart-to-heart conversations with your team and say, this is why I show up every week. This is why this matters to me. You know, I want you guys to know this. And then from that, you know, I'm always a big proponent in, I want to help you grow as the leader. That's part of my job, is to equip you and to help give you the opportunities that you need to get better, to get more confident. But I like to put as much of that on them. You know, like I don't want to own their growth plan. I don't want to have to I'm not a babysitter. I'm not, you know, we're mothers and fathers. We're not babysitters. I mean, if you think about that in terms of like when I watch the kids, if my wife goes out and it's just me, I'm not babysitting them. I'm fathering them. I'm their dad, right? And I think sometimes we forget our role as leaders, as mothers and fathers, so to speak, and for a worship team. Like, you're not a mom or dad necessarily like that, but you're not there as a babysitter. Right. You know, there's a I want to speak into your life. I want to, you know, pour out what God has poured into me. Like, I want to give you what's there, and I want to shepherd you in that way. I'm not just here, you know, hoping you track and don't mess up the music. You know, that's a pretty low bar if that's where you're at. Yeah. So I don't know. So maybe we could talk a little bit about, like, as you look at your team, and just kind of use your context as a what do you call it? Like a sample. An example. Thank you. What are you thinking about for this year? Like, it's not 2020 anymore. Yeah. Beyond that.
It's all right. We don't know what 2021 has in store.
I know. I was like,
2020. Who knows? So, well, when I think about my team, I mean, I really, I want us to be a more unified team. That would be my number one goal for them. That kind of like what what you've been talking about, that we're kind of all on the same page as to why we do what we do every Sunday, and just having that same, vision of that we are together in this. And so I would say that would be like my number one goal for them, is just that we're unified, and that we have just that that we're a team, that we know, like, we can count on each other, that we even grow closer together, in relationships too. That's hard right now with, what's going on. But I mean, I've kind of had that goal for a couple of years, but it's okay to reset the same goal every year and keep working towards that. But yeah, that would be my number one focus, is for us to really all be on the same page with that.
How much are you willing to pay for that? At what cost is too high to pursue and achieve unity? And like, here's where my head is at right now. Sorry, my friends.
That was your wife.
Just two friends, or a husband and wife and their baby, are walking out. I'm just always mess with people. I think unity is such an appropriate and a scriptural pursuit. I mean, obviously, there's the blessing of the Lord is in that. So, is it worth, like, let's say you have 10 people on your team right now, and they're kind of, in different places. And this is not necessarily the best route to take, but it's just a way of thinking about it. Is it worth it to if midway through the year that 10 is down to 3, but you 3 are like the Andrew sisters or whatever. I don't know. That's an old, it's like, is it 2 sisters? Or is it 3? I don't even know. Some like tight knit group of people who are just like finishing each other's sentences on just that camaraderie that like is really tight. Like, would that be better than 10 kind of like,
Yeah.
like, and if what brings you together and what has that between the 3 of you is that commonality, is that common vision, how hard can you push that common vision so that people who are there, first of all, have the chance of saying, that's not where I started, but you know what? I think I could get into that. Okay, let's try this. Or like, man, y'all drink the Kool-Aid. I'm not into that. Like, no thanks. I mean, I'm remembering there was literally these 2 people on a worship team, and the leader was really having a not a hard-fisted, but like an intentional, we are growing. They were doing this course together. It was beautiful. Like they were taking their responsibility to grow. It was just kind of a young team. They were taking it really seriously. It was fantastic. And so here was these 2 people on the team, and they literally said, "Hey, we're going to get off the team because we know you guys really want to grow, and honestly, we just want to show up and play. We're not really interested in all the extra stuff." And they stepped off the team, and it was just like, it was really hard because it was a small team, and that was a significant part of the team that stepped off. But it was also beautiful because what was left was more together, was more on the same page, and there had always been this like underlying tension, that the leader couldn't identify exactly what was going on, or what was the source of the tension. But anyway, it was a high cost for unity. It was a high cost that leader paid and that team paid to come to a place of unity. So I just, I don't like the approach that says it's you're either in or out. You know, it's my way or the highway. This is what we're doing, or if you don't like it, you can find somewhere else to serve. That's not good leadership. I want to give, but I do want to give people a clear sense, a clear call to what is it that you're signing up for, and or re-signing up for. Like, hey, we're not new to this team. We've been on this team for 10 years, and you're suddenly going to change something. Like that's a real dynamic you have to work with. But there's this sense of I want to give you the chance to say yes to this, to say, okay, that's not where I'm starting, but I'll try this out. I'm going to go that direction for a bit. So in the end, I mean, the team is going to be healthier because there was always this underlying tension, weirdness.
Right. Yes. Healthy. That's the good word. Yes.
Healthy. Yeah.
A good,
Smaller
healthy,
but healthy.
a good, healthy team. Yeah.
Yeah. Because healthy things grow.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so even if the 10 goes down to 3, but things are healthy, guess what? I bet things are going to start to grow.
Yeah, I mean, and it would be my desire that they wouldn't leave the team, that like
Right.
you said, that their mindset would kind of switch and be like, hey, yeah, that, kind of be on board with it and not the other. But that could happen, and that's okay.
So yes, yeah. So okay. When people talk about vision, some people would say, you've talked about it enough where your team is like kind of rolls their eyes and finishes the sentence for you because like she's said it so many times, right? In terms of unity, what do you want to be unified around, and do you have compelling words to talk about that?
Probably could use more.
Okay, because I mean a lack of unity is kind of a feeling, and sometimes you can put your finger on like what is it that's causing that, but if I'm going to call people to something, man, I want to have words that they can repeat, that they can get it. Like, like one time I was on staff and I watched this Jeremy Riddle video, and some of the things he said really got me to think. And so I crafted a statement that just said, we are a family of worshipers full of faith to walk in freedom. And that was the way I said it. And each of those things had an important meaning to that. We're a family. There's that speaks to our relationships, what we're like. We're not a family of musicians necessarily, or of people who lead worship, but we are worshipers. We are a family of worshipers. That's our identity. We see ourselves as, and we act like worshipers, and we are full of faith. So, and that's, we're growing in faith. We're learning about that. We're trying to exercise ourselves, growing in faith, so that we can walk in freedom. The particular church I was at was a more of a conservative background church, not charismatic at all. And it wasn't my goal to be charismatic. It was for us to be free and alive. And so that to walk in freedom kind of was that encapsulating part. And so that would be on my emails, or that would be, if I print stuff out, it would be on there. I would talk about it. And I know that I didn't talk about it enough, because, they weren't like eye rolling and saying to walk in freedom. We know, Dave, we know, we get this. We're on board with your ideas, So I think it'd be worthwhile if my goal is unity, what am I be unified around? Can I say that in some interesting words, some compelling words? And then even like, sometimes you define things by what they are, and sometimes you define things by what they're not. And so that, so I might say, hey, look, we're not going to be, we don't need to be unified around our dress code. We don't need to be unified around the number of hours that we spend in preparation for rehearsal. We don't need to be unified around I don't know, the amount of money that we make. I don't know, just be really random. And but we do need to be unified around how we show up to rehearsal, prepared. I don't care if it takes you 5 minutes or 5 hours. Either one is okay with me, as long as you show up prepared, because we can't do our job, and our job is to create a space where people can worship, where people can meet with God. We can't do that if we're not prepared. I want rehearsals to feel easy because we're ready, or I don't really like that one because it's actually fun to work hard as a team to come up with something, especially when it's not working, and then it does anyway. So yeah, I think this is Brene Brown's quote that my wife reminds me of often. She says, "Clarity is kind." Like, kindness is expressed by being clear, and if you're unclear, you're unkind. So I'm doing a disservice to my team if I can't clearly lay out what are we about, and then repeat that. And I think it's also a viable thing to say, hey guys, I want us to really rally around the same thing, but I don't want to use my language. I want to use our language. And so rather than come up with a fancy little statement that I'm going to give you, I want us to come up with one ourselves. Let's talk for an hour about what we care about, what's important about, and I'm going to guide us and shape that. But we're going to come up with words that matter to us for this year. It's not like this forever and ever, this is what we're about. Like, it's probably going to fit that, but I think it might take some pressure off. And that could be a lot of fun to do with the team and lead them in that kind of crafting a statement that says what we care about and what we're doing. And it could be a really, really interesting and insightful conversation to hear. I think one thing that teams don't do enough of is sit in the same room and listen to each other talk about what they're doing. Right. So even if it's a Zoom room.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and that is something that I did put into practice last year, was that we did have 2 times in the year that we did all meet. It wasn't anything to do with practice. It wasn't even at church. It was at my house. And we did it the week in between Christmas and New Year's last year to start the year off. And we did it in July as well. Then we kind of did a 6-month then. I took notes, and we just kind of went around and everyone shared, like, just kind of thinking about the previous year. What are some things we did good and we felt good about, and what are areas that we want to work on or change or grow in this new year? And so everyone just kind of shared, and I just compiled a list. And then, that gave us, some ideas, a track to run on, so to speak. And then we met again in July and brought that list back out and looked at, what had we done and what are some areas that we were still working on. So, yeah, and that was really good. It was really good for the team, I think. And, probably a step in us being more united. So, yeah. And then the other thing I love to do at the beginning of every year, I've done it, I think just the past maybe 3 years, is just every beginning of a year, I meet individually with every team member and do kind of like an evaluation, with them personally then of, what are some areas that you want to grow in this new year or whatever, when it comes to serving on our team, so, and how can I be a better leader, to them? How can I assist them, more in, so just good one-on-one conversations with them.
Yeah,
so
that's fantastic.
We'll be doing that again. Some team members love it. Other team members hate it, and they dread it, and they run, I'll put an email out, send me your day and time at work, and some of them I don't hear anything from, and I got to chase them down. And others are right on it and love to do it. But like you said, some people are more driven in that way, and some people aren't. And some people are just okay with doing what they're doing and staying in that and not really looking to grow and you know, improve and work
Yeah.
on things. Some are just
Yeah.
content to be just showing up and doing what they can do. So, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's a really important thing, you know. I mean, like, it's okay to be laid back, you know, like, it really is okay to not be like, oh yeah, and we're doing this thing, and like, you don't need to have that energy. I mean, not everybody has that energy. And I mean, can you imagine a world where everybody had that energy? That'd be a little crazy.
That's true.
But I don't think it does anybody any good to not be lit up. You know, like, if you're just showing up and you kind of like it, like, can you imagine if you showed up and you're like, man, I wouldn't trade this for anything. Well, what is it going to take to get us there? You know, because that's, to me, that's one of the values, maybe descriptions of you know, the team that I want to lead. I want you to be really glad you're there. And so what's that going to take? Because this is what we're doing. This is why we're doing it. But what piece of that for you is really going to light you up? So, like, it's, yeah, totally fine to be laid back, but don't not be lit up by what we're doing.
Mhm.
Well, and maybe that brings the other question in my mind is what is it that, what are the areas, you know, without mentioning names, that bring disunity, or what keeps unity from happening? Like, is there a specific thing that's like, well, there's this piece right here, you know, if that was dealt with, that would solve all the problems. It's probably not that simple, but you know what I mean? Because then I can start making plans and attack that little piece there, pull that weed out, instead of just spraying the whole thing with Roundup.
Right. I see what you're saying. Yeah, I guess when I think about my team, I sometimes feel we worry more about what are the songs that we're doing? What are the new songs? Are we going to do one that I pick, that I want to do? Are, you know, who's leading what songs? Who's, you know, and I actually just read a devotional this morning that I'm going to be sharing with my team. It's a devotional for worship teams, so it's awesome because it really, I think I forget what it's called, but anyway.
And who put it together?
I can look real quick. It's right over on the counter if you want me to.
Okay.
Yeah, and today's that I'm going to share, tonight's our practice, is majoring in the minors and minoring in the majors. Like, are we, you know, focused on the wrong things, basically?
Yeah.
You know, are we worried about those minor type things, which to me are minor, of who's leading what songs are we doing, how, you know, are we going to do the instrumental? Are we not? Are we, you know, rather than, you know, really what does all that matter? You know, we're here for a whole bigger purpose than, you know, doing songs that you like to do or that you want. And
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying?
Well, it sounds like, without knowing anything more about your team, it sounds like there's people who are artists and producers, and you're maybe more the priest, shepherd-ish kind of in that role, where that just really means a lot. That's like, really, like, I don't want to do lame songs. I don't want to do songs I don't like. Like, what's the point? Like, we want to put a great thing together. You know, that's the producer talking. Like, there's this, we have to have a better plan. And I want to know, like, you know, because I don't just want to show up and, you know, do my little part. Like, you know, maybe it sounds like there's other leaders in there that need more reins to you know, lead, to get that out of their, not out of their system, but like to get that if it's a healthy need, met, you know. And it's like, anybody who's like wired as a leader can bristle at being a secondary leader or not have any influence if they're like, hey, you know, I'm like, I manage 20 people at my bank, and here I come and sing on the worship team, and I don't even get a chance to sing lead on this chorus. I'm just like, again, I have no idea what your team is like, but
Right.
that could be a possibility. With so if you have producers and artists on your team, then how do you bring them to life without making the horse and carriage go a different direction? Because what I don't hear you, what I am reading between the lines, is that if you would give them that, okay, well, why don't you pick, and you pick which one you want to sing, it would lose something of where you want to take it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, I heard this song on K-Love and it's great. It's like, it's not a worship song. You don't want to do that in a
Correct.
congregation. Like my grandma was not, when my grandma's washing dishes, she's not humming that song.
Correct. Yes.
So again, clarity is kindness.
Mm-hmm.
Where are we going? What kinds of things are we doing? What opportunities are there for leadership? Like, let me, I don't want to frustrate you for 5 years, because look, here's the bottom line. I don't think you're ever going to pick a song or lead a song. Do you still want to participate? I want to have you on the team, but you're picking songs is not part of your role. And that's, I feel like a really stiff, arrogant person to say that. But and here's why.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's like, what, just I want you to bring me every song that you think we should do, and I want us to talk about it, because I want to get inside your head. I want you to get inside my head, and I'm going to tell you why this might work and why I don't think it would work. And so we're not going to do this song. But let's talk about that. I don't know.
Yeah. But no, I mean, I love my team. They really are a great team. They are.
Yeah.
I just desire for us to be more, to not lose our focus as to why we're there. And it's not about us. It's not about what we want. And, it's, yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no. I think my favorite saying is, not my favorite saying in this moment is, there's no I in team, but there's an I in win. Just kidding.
Correct.
Oh, that's horrible.
That's good. Mm-hmm.
The time when goals are your enemy are when they're not ones that you set for yourself. Like it's there's a reason that your doctor tells you that you're fat and you need to lose weight, and you don't do it because it wasn't your goal. Like, it's like, no, what, I actually really want to do this. Here's why. Like, I'm motivated to do this. So like, if your pastor gives you a goal about something and you're like, I don't even care about that, or like, I don't agree with that, or I feel overwhelmed, I can't even. Okay, so your job as a leader in that moment, because that goal right now is your foe. It's not your friend. It's your enemy in the way it feels. You have to figure out, okay, what is behind that, and what piece of that do I actually care about? Do I resonate with? Do I want to, like, if a pastor might say, hey, it'd be great if you added like a couple people to the team this year, and you're like, yeah, I know, it'd be great. You want to find them for me, buddy? Like, okay, wait, I actually want that same thing too. I don't like that pressure. But what could I be doing to get there? Because I would love to have three new people by the end of the year on the team. Well, where do I want to start? What's causing people not to be on the team right now? And it's, I don't think it's an overstatement to say it's never that they're not in your church. And I say that with this caveat. if you have figured out a way to make your team have a great culture, people get along, people are having fun serving, it's a good time to be on this team. And you have also figured out a way to get people what they need on your team. So that might be like, I'm going to give you good chord charts and a recording 3 weeks before that rehearsal, so that you have plenty of time to learn the song and feel comfortable with it. Because otherwise you're just going to freak out, and there's no way you could do this otherwise. Like, have I learned to give my team the direction they need, the preparation they need, all those pieces? Have I learned to do that so that really anybody with marginal talent and skill could join my team and do okay? And we could kind of work on that together. Because people are, you might need another male singer, and there's somebody in your congregation that probably sang in choir in high school, and you see them worshiping, you can tell, but they would never think they're a singer. No way. But under what what would it take from me for them to be successful on my team? What would I need to do? Because so I'm like, I know there's just, people are drawn to good things. So make a good thing, make your team a good thing, make your team the happening place, make your team a place where people are encouraged and they're growing their confidence, and they're laughing and it's a good time. They're more committed to God because they serve on that team. And by the way, if that's the case, they're going to start inviting their friends to come. Oh, you should join us. I know you don't, but I know you played guitar, 40 years ago, and you're like, oh, I don't want that kind of guitar player on my team. But again, what does that person need? Do they need to sit down with the worship leader at the church down the street who's a really good guitar player, for a couple of months, and they just give them some pointers to get them ready for that? Hey, can you just go over these are the 4 songs they're playing in a month. Can you just work on those 4 songs with that person once a month? Can you do that? Rick might say yes. So that's not, you're not asking for 10 hours of their time, maybe 2 hours of their time to go over something with somebody who knows how to play some chords but doesn't have any of the feel from today. Just give them a lesson on those 4 songs for that Sunday, and they can be practicing. And suddenly you have a guitar player, and in 6 months he's decent. Like, there's the possibilities of this. So if you're given a goal by your pastor, by some other leader, that's not your goal, and that feels like it's your foe, figure it out. What do you care about? How do you get around there? So I think that's a good place to end.
All right. Yeah. Oh, good discussion.
Yeah.
Thanks.
So thanks everybody else for joining in today.